Hello, I'm on the beach to tell you about mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. It's the MDA framework. Mechanics stand for any individual rule in the game. So if we take this scene in Mega Man X, you might say Mega Man can shoot shotgun ice, and shotgun ice can bounce off of walls, that's another rule, and when a shot hits an enemy, it'll damage it, that's another rule. But there are rules about the enemy too. So an enemy will shoot at fixed intervals, and it'll shoot either sideways or it'll shoot up at 45-degree angles. So mechanics talk about any individual rule in the game. Now you might ask, what's the point of having a word that just talks about anything in the game, right? Like, it seems like it would be overgeneral. Well, the whole point of the mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics framework is that you can build up to more meaningful things. For example, with the enemy, because it shoots at different intervals and it shoots in different patterns, we can build up a dynamic of hit zones, or spaces where Mega Man might be hit and places where Mega Man can't be hit. So if he stands up here, he's perfectly safe. If he's off, hanging to the wall over here, he can be hit, so he'd be in a danger zone. So that's one dynamic that we can lay out where bullets will be, and you can see that requires multiple rules to put together. It requires the rule of the enemy shooting, the rule of the bullet trajectory, and so we would call that a dynamic because it's multiple rules considered at the same time. And when Mega Man has a shotgun ice, we might say that there's a corner shooting dynamic, because you can see Mega Man standing up on the ledge here, and he shoots forward, and then the shot bounces off of the wall back down. So he shoots around the corner, basically, but that takes two rules. One, that Mega Man shoots straight forward. Two, that the shot bounces off of the wall. And so that's a corner shooting dynamic. So we have a corner shooting dynamic, and we have a safe spot dynamic. So with multiple dynamics, we can build up to a further layer of abstraction with aesthetics. So considering Mega Man can shoot around corners, and considering that Mega Man can stay in a safe spot, we might say that this particular gameplay moment has a stealth aesthetic to it. Because Mega Man can stand outside of the enemy's range while still hurting it. So, it's kind of like he's not even seen. Aesthetics describe the user, the end player experience. So I like to think of them as genres, which is why I use the word stealth. Yeah, and that's the MDA framework. Mechanics are individual rules in the game, dynamics are groups of rules in the game, and aesthetics are groups of dynamics. At the layer of mechanics, it's really concrete, because you can look at an individual rule in the game and it has to be there. A dynamic is a little less objective, because, to see how rules work together, you have to actually play the game and encounter the dynamic in gameplay. But it's still objective in some sense, because the rules actually exist in the game. You're just observing how they interact with each other, even though you have to encounter them in gameplay. And aesthetics is the least objective, because we're talking about how it feels when you consider all of the dynamics together. So when I call it a stealth aesthetic, that's how it feels to me. But, feelings are feelings, and feelings are feelings. So we wouldn't call that objective, but we can see how, when I explain how all of the rules work together and how I encountered them in gameplay, you can at least understand why I would call it a stealth aesthetic. So it gives us a basis for talking about our gameplay experiences, but situating them in a concrete, objective, measurable way. So I really like the MDA framework. I think it's pretty nifty. so that's why it's nifty. And that's me explaining the MDA framework at the beach.